conservative talk, TalkErie.com.
Erie. It's Monday, November 4th. Welcome back for another Flagship City Sports Talk brought to you by Quick Fill. Where are we getting that loop from? Do you hear that?
No, I don't. But you do.
I hear nothing other than my wonderful voice. This is great. Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. I don't hear any loop back. I sound great. I don't know what the problem is.
Really? You guys are messing with me.
No,
This is like
you
a-
were screwing with me last week.
All right.
Anyway,
I'm bringing in Isaac. Isaac, do you hear it?
Hear it. Maybe we're just the lucky ones this morning, Nick.
Well, I guess we'll roll with it. This is just how things go. This kicks off a wacky election week, so this will be pretty
nobody
fun.
wants to hear about the election stuff. Let's get to sports.
Yeah, this is your break. This is your break from the elections. This week
I'm
here
a
on
little
Talk
upset
Erie.
about it, though. I'll be honest with you guys. All these political text messages, I think I'm going to miss them. I think, at this point. I've never felt more popular.
Yeah. Sorry, I was getting that. No, seriously, I'll pick up my phone like, ooh, 8 text messages come in.
Who wants to get a... Oh, okay. Bob Casey again.
It's
All right.
it's yeah. Oh, Ted Cruz. Oh, all right. Yeah, my wife got a call from Elon. I was like, all right.
She did too? That's crazy. That guy's calling everybody.
Crazy.
Not me, thank God.
Yeah.
I can't afford his cars anyway.
All right.
Can't afford my cars anyway.
Yeah. People confirming on the stream that we do have an echo. Let us know. We think we fixed the tech issue there. I think we're good. Let us know if you still hear it or do not hear it. But anyway, who's here we don't want to talk about the election. If we're gonna talk about the election,
We had way too many playoff games to talk about before we ever get to election anything.
if we're gonna talk about the elections, I want to motion that we move the Browns to like the sub league and like move up Alabama or something like that. Can we? We'll talk about them
All in
later.
favor?
Yeah. Full house today. We got Paul Adams, Zach Rich Smith, Isaac Petcash. We got a lot to get into, a lot of football to get into. D10 playoffs are here. We're off. We're running. Yeah. Anything you guys want to hit before we go?
No.
Now let's get into it. Let's jump into the North Shore Rewind, brought to you by Duskus Funeral Home. All right, let's lead off with number 1 seeded McDowell going against number 2 Erie. The defense leads McDowell to a 28-14 victory for the D10 Class 6A championship last Friday at General McLean. Isaac, you were there, so we'll jump to you first. This is maybe a little bit of a different win for the McDowell Trojans this year, kind of leaning on their defense versus that high-powered offense of Blaze Myers, Baby Porter, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, no question. And all year they've won via the offense, and this was something totally different in the game on Friday. Guys, by my count, and there's dispute over the number of first downs. I had 3 McDowell first downs the whole game. Maybe they got to 4 on the final drive, but they didn't have a lot of great offensive firepower. Really, the only thing that worked for them were the 2 long touchdown runs by Blaze Myers and Stephon Porter in the first half, and then they relied on their defense. I'll tell you what. If we're talking from a gameplay standpoint, Erie probably outplayed McDowell in this game, but at the end of the day, it was the little mistakes, right? Erie throws a pick 6 at the start of the game. They have the ball in the red zone a couple of times, and penalties back them up. They had the ball at the 18 at one point in the third quarter and went from the 18 all the way back to near the 40 for a first and 35.
Yeah.
So I think the problem that Erie ran into in this game was that they weren't diverse enough, in my view, on offense. They became predictable. They tried to throw the ball outside the numbers and down the field too much. Those weren't working. They tried to throw the screen pass. That didn't work. And so essentially it came down to Kwani Darnell just trying to run around the field and find a guy, and McDowell's defense was really stout. My concern for the Trojans in this game was the fact that they could not throw the ball. I don't know if Blaze Myers was hurt. There was no indication that anyone said he was hurt, but he did not look himself in this game. So they had to rely on the defense and the run game to make plays. Ashton Sontheimer, who was doing the punting duties, really was the MVP in my view of this game because he kept Erie pinned back in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
But for McDowell, it's a great win. Erie's going to kick themselves, though, because they could have easily, in my view, have won this game. And for the Trojans, a lot to clean up ahead of State College coming up on Friday.
So did it look like to you a lack of execution, or just Erie, that was their game plan, was to shut down Blaze Myers?
I honestly think for Erie, they did a really good job of staying disciplined. And this is what we talked about in our preview show back on Thursday, Jonathan Williams and I, is the fact that if Erie stayed disciplined, stayed inside their lanes, McDowell was going to struggle to move the football.
Right.
And I think that's exactly what happened. Blaze didn't have many guys open on the outside. James Ziegler didn't really factor into the game, which was huge for the Royals. And I think there was an understanding that for Erie, they were not going to allow Stephon Porter to beat them again. Remember, in the regular season, he had 3 touchdown runs. He had, of course, the 2 in the Friday night game, but only the 1 really long run that he broke. And so I think for the Royals, they wanted to make sure they stayed regimented and didn't over pursue anything. And I think that was a big reason why McDowell struggled to score. But again, for Erie, they had so many chances to win this game. They just couldn't find that drive that ended up getting them the tying score, which the game was, of course, 21-14 for the longest time in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, they came out, early, 21-0 lead in the first half between, Basto returns the interception for a touchdown. You have Porter on the 58-yard touchdown run. Myers gets involved with the 60-yard touchdown run as well. Paul, what do you think? Historically, State College is always really good.
Yes.
How do you feel about the Trojans going to State College this weekend?
I have done the McDowell State College PIAA sub-regional game a number of times.
Yes, we
in
have.
my years at WCTL. State College is perennially one of the best teams in the state. Gave Blaze Myers and all that talent last year at McDowell all they had in terms of football talent on that field. I think State College won 2 years ago. McDowell got them last year. The Little Lions come into this one at 9-1 overall. Once again, they're a very stout, very loaded roster.
Yeah.
They're going to give McDowell all they can handle once again. I think the negative and positive, my takeaway for McDowell in Friday's game, about the best game you could have if you're Erie in terms of shutting down McDowell's offense. That's what you could have hoped for. This is. Right. This is the plan. If we can hold these guys down, we got a shot. But the other side of things for McDowell, it was a really well-rounded win because, as both you talked about, this was an offensive-laden team, and they needed them to score 45 points because the defense gave up 42. This was a really, really impressive performance at the right time of year to get that side of the ball rolling and maybe feel like they have a real shot against the Little Lions.
Well, and I think that's how I feel about Erie too. Let's kind of wrap up the segment talking about Erie. We're excited to see McDowell head to State College. I'm excited to see how they go back. I think this is a McDowell team that's going to, put up some points against State College. I think they're going into this game fired up with that senior-led offense, and it'll be curious to see. But I think on the Erie side of the ball, I'm coming away from this game encouraged. They've had a little bit of a turnaround this year. We talked about them. They would have had to keep pace in this game to win this game. They did keep pace, unfortunately, just not enough to overcome. McDowell's defense stood up. But I think going into 2025, that hurts to say, 2025, Erie's setting up for a good year next year. I think they have a lot of they don't, if I remember correctly, they don't have a lot of turnover in terms of big players on the team. Isaac can correct me if I'm wrong there. But I think, a year under their belt, they have a strong season. I think they're going to come back even stronger next season as well. So a lot of stuff happening with McDowell, Erie. Let's just kind of, I don't want to jump to the next game because we're pushing the time limit here.
We can start it.
Well, let's do this.
Okay.
Isaac, what do you think, real quick? What's the key to the game here if McDowell has any hope going into State College?
I think they have to control the football. You cannot allow State College to have the football a ton, and I think that's been the case in a lot of situations in the last previous years. When you look at this State College team and their ability to have explosive plays, I really think it's going to be concerning if the Trojans aren't able to keep them off the field. You look, of course, at just some of the guys that they have on this roster, and for State College, this game could get out of hand really quickly if McDowell doesn't keep them off the field. So we'll see. I think they've got a shot to win the game, but Blaze is going to have to play much better.
If I have to bet on that, though, I think this is maybe a if Blaze is healthy, like you said, we can't really. I'm not going to speculate health at this point. I think Blaze, with the experience that he has, having played State College before, I think they have a shot to really make a run at this. Blaze Myers has been a fan favorite of this show for a couple years now. Hit Me Baby One More Time with Stephon Baby Porter. I'm excited. I'm excited going into this game. So all bets going into what should be just another phenomenal game.
It is a powerful record-setting senior trio, and they're going to need all three of those guys next week.
And I'm excited because the defense. We talked. The defense hasn't done much this year, and they stepped up, and hopefully they can do it again. They're going to need to, like Isaac said, for State College. All right, that was the North Shore Rewind brought to you by Jessica's Funeral Home. We got to take a break. When we get back, we're going to keep talking D10 playoffs. We have 2, maybe 3 more games we still want to try and get to. Gosh, we never have enough time on the show. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quickfill.
Since
Fix that.
Welcome back. Woo! Well, we say this every week. We need more time, but I don't know. Maybe we just need to stop. We need to talk less. We're just full of hot air on a Monday morning. But we do have 2 more games we want to get into. We had a lot of great playoff football happening. We talk about parity at the NFL level, and there's not parity. I'm not trying to make that comparison, but I think the level of competition in District 10 just gets better and better every year. Which, I mean, hey.
We get a couple of great games every week, every year.
And that makes it gives us stuff to talk about.
I was going to say, it makes people like us happy.
All right, let's stick in the North Shore Rewind. All right, so let's jump to this game. Paul, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah.
This was a game that I was personally really excited to see. We had the revenge game, Corey versus Fort LaBeouf. Corey High School defeats Fort LaBeouf 9-6 in a D10 Class 3A quarterfinal playoff game at the War Memorial in Warren on Friday. This win avenges Corey's 19-13 regular season loss to Fort LaBeouf on September 6th. I think if you're going to win one of these games, Corey is excited to have won this one.
You win the last one. 9-6 in dramatic fashion, a 37-yard field goal by the senior Zach Turbin. His career long, narrowly cleared the crossbar, avenged Corey's loss to LaBeouf earlier in the season. The Beavers secured the win after LaBeouf was penalized for an illegal forward pass during that chaotic kickoff return with just a few seconds to play. Corey advances to the semifinals. They'll face Hickory. Good luck. Had a surprise bye after Slippery Rock forfeited their game due to a lack of players. So Corey's coming off a really, really tough game. Fort LaBeouf, they make you earn every yard, every snap, every minute. Corey does the same.
Yeah.
And they're going to go in and play an unusually rested Hickory squad on the road. Going to be a neutral site game. Going to be a little bit closer to Hickory because they're the higher seed. And it's going to be a tough week for them. But we talked last week, Corey, Fort LaBeouf might have been, coming into the weekend of playoff games, the game of the week.
Right.
And boy, did it not disappoint.
Did you see the video of the field goal? I didn't get to see the game live.
It was a knuckleball.
It was crazy. It was one of those the double doink in the NFL is great, but this was right up there. Bounces off, the horizontal crossbar and up and over. I mean, talk about dramatic fashion in this one. It
doesn't get any better than that. Any more heart-stopping. The place, you could have heard a pin drop as it hit the crossbar. You could hear the thum as it hits, and then as it bounces through, because once it hits one of those bars, it's round. It could go anywhere, and it goes through the entire. Corey is in Erie County. I found out over the weekend. So the entire county.
Listen,
just
you're
stunned.
You're a radio host. Geography is not.
No, it's not.
And the district lines don't make sense either. But that's a conversation for another day. Isaac, thinking about Corey, does the week off for Hickory help or hurt Corey's chances going into this game?
It probably hurts him more than it does help him. I think because Hickory, to my knowledge, is mainly healthy. And again, I think the Hornets, as soon as they know that Slippery Rock isn't going to play, you start doing some film prep and film work. And I think one way or another, they probably did film prep for both teams, but I think there was probably an understanding that Corey was the more likely team to win. The thing that concerns me a lot is the Corey offense and the fact that you can only muster up 9 points. I get Fort LaBeouf had been more fully healthy, but I think the fact that you have to rely on the Zach Turbin field goal to win it is a little scary for me. Now, I do think that Corey will be able to throw the ball a little bit better against this Hickory defense, because I think that they can find some advantages in the seam specifically. But 9 points isn't going to get it done. You're going to have to score at least 4 to 5 offensive touchdowns if you want to have a chance in this game.
Agreed.
And so big question is going to be for Corey is, can they find that offense again that had been rolling in the last few weeks, because Hickory's going to be well rested and they will probably be a heavy favorite in this game.
Yeah. And a crazy way to end that game, but wasn't the craziest game-ending play that we saw last week. You have Mercyhurst Prep going against Sharpsville. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately because I was pulling for Mercyhurst Prep. There's no bias here on this show. Sharpsville defeated Mercyhurst Prep 35-31 in the D10 Class 2A football semifinals at the Vet. Sharpsville overcomes an 18-point deficit with 10 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter to complete the comeback. Isaac, is this... what happened? Is this a breakdown by the Mercyhurst Prep defense, or just the Sharpsville offense doing what they do and taking control of the game? No, you're muted, buddy.
Oh, there we go. So first and foremost, the onside kick with under a minute and a half to go hurts. I mean, any time that you can't recover an onside kick to essentially put the game away, that doesn't help as well. I think at the end of the day, Sharpsville late in the game started to find some traction on offense and eventually was able to break down the Mercyhurst Prep secondary. That was the biggest thing. Aiden Puskar had an incredible game in the receiving category. I think Aiden Cadman kind of understood what he needed to do to torch the Mercyhurst Prep secondary in the second half. And I honestly, the biggest detriment for the Lakers is maybe they scored too fast. Vinny Feliciano had a couple of long touchdown runs in this game, but what it allowed is it allowed Sharpsville to get the ball back, to drive down the field and have time to complete the comeback. It was a great game all around, but I just think that the two things to me that stand out was the onside kick that, of course, Sharpsville recovers, and before that, the fact that Mercyhurst Prep had the ball inside the 35 of Sharpsville with under 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go when they turned the ball over.
Yeah.
They could have ended the game, and their offense, which had been a great story for them all season long, couldn't get it done when it mattered most. And it's just unfortunate because I think the Lakers, like Erie, are looking at themselves and saying, we really should have won this game. There's no reason that we should have lost. But that's why Sharpsville is as good as they are. They're an experienced team. Maybe they could have been the number 2 seed, maybe not. But the Blue Devils know how to pull things out when they need to pull it out. And I think it just shows that experience maybe won over in this game at the very end.
Yep.
Vinny Feliciano, 24 carries for 267 yards. So for the sophomore, had a great game. As a coach, my takeaway was this. Paul Piccarelli, who's been head coach at Sharpsville since before the advent of the forward pass, called this game one of his top 2 or 3 best wins in his tenure, and admitted that the last 5 or 6 plays of the game, they drew up on the sideline.
Yeah.
So these weren't called plays. This is a coach and a staff and a group of players getting together and like just putting something together, drawing it up in the dirt, and coming up. Just it's heart, it's grit, it's can do. It's an unbelievable win for Sharpsville. An absolute heartbreaker for the Lakers, but well deserved by the Blue Devils.
Yeah, they needed everything to go right for them, and it went right. All right, Paul.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to you for the 2-minute drill. A little bit of a different sound here today.
Yeah, this is the 2-minute drill Quincy Jones edition. R.I.P. Let's start out in cross country. Cathedral Prep's girls secured the Class 2A state title for the second consecutive year, led by Ann Catherine Brown, who placed 12th with a time of 1931, and Fina Bannister, 18th with a time of 1946. Strong support from Michaela Stutz, Zita Scheidel, and Allison Bender. Grove City boys dominated in the Class 2A field cross country with 85 points, led by top finishers Isaiah Stoff in 17th and MJ Pottinger, who finished 20th, helping the Eagles also claim their second consecutive cross country team title. Over to girls volleyball, Grace Allen of Corey, her team high 13 kills helped the Beavers sweep the Cathedral Prep Ramblers in District 10's Class 2A championship. Over to girls soccer now, Rowan Wolf out of Harbor Creek. Her hat trick within a 13-minute span of the first half highlighted the Huskies' 4-0 win over Warren in the district's Class 3A final at Dollinger Field. Over to boys soccer, Adam Dahl of Mercyhurst Prep. His first-minute goal held up as the only offense recorded in the Lakers' 1-0 win against Seneca in their District Class 1A final. Up to college now. The Gannon women's basketball team opened their season with 3 wins, capping it off with a 72-60 victory over St. Edwards at the Canadian Tip-Off Classic. Led by Bree Claxton's 22 points, Carissa Dunham's 13, and Andrea Maybach's 10 rebounds. Death, taxes, and Gannon women's basketball. Over to the football field. Mercyhurst football fell 31-24 to Duquesne, despite outstanding efforts from Adam Urena, who threw for 345 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Rylan Davison, who set a new NEC single-game receptions record with 14 catches, 152 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And finally, Edinburgh edged out Seton Hill 24-22, powered by a strong defense that forced 3 turnovers and an offense that tallied 174 rushing yards, led by Wilfredo Diaz's 18 tackles and Bo Swartz 2 rushing touchdowns. That was the Quincy Jones edition of this week's 2-minute drill.
You know, Quincy Jones or not, that song just brings back so many
Doesn't it just put a smile on your face?
memories from high school. Isaac's too young, but Isaac.
I'll take your word for it, gents.
That's okay.
You just call us old.
Well, I set us up for
Okay.
it. Let's be honest. Yeah, you know, Austin Powers was a very niche moment in our lifetime, but very, very relevant there too as well. And a lot of good. You know, we talk a lot of football. You know, and I think football dominates the conversation. Obviously, in the fall. But there are so many incredible sports stories that happen throughout the year when we think of, you know, soccer, with the soccer playoffs. We're going to talk Fairview golf here in a little bit. You know, there's a lot of just really good stories. And, you know, I said this before and I'll say it again. It's one of the things that when I came to Erie, I did not expect it to be as big of a sports city as it is. You know, from all levels. When we talk high school, we talk college, we talk, you know, the minor league teams. There is always something to talk about.
You know, we fit 17 names into the 2-minute drill today, and that's you should see how much we leave on the cutting room floor. That's all I'm saying. A lot of great sports in Erie County.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of, when we get into our next segment, we got to take a break here. We're going to be welcoming Cora Hers and Coach Ryan Quigley from the Fairview golf team. They had a pretty big win recently.
Good weekend.
Before we take our next break, I want to take a second and thank all of our sponsors: Quick Fill, Duskus Funeral Home, Dauber Auto Supply, John's Wildwood Pizza, Denny's Sales and Service. Without them, we wouldn't be here for you. When we get back, we do welcome the members of the Fairview golf team to the Flagship Feature. It's been a while for a feature. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill.
Every day.
On Erie's home for breaking news and informative talk, TalkErie.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill. I feel like I need to slow down this morning. I feel like I'm running a marathon. I'm excited. I don't know. There's something in the air. I feel like there's just something big happening this week.
Leaves. That's what's in the air.
Oh, well, that's not good for the allergies, though.
You telling me?
I don't know. I just feel like there's something big happening this week that I keep forgetting about.
Nothing comes to mind.
no,
Trade
no.
deadline tomorrow, isn't it?
Ooh, I like that. That's what's going on tomorrow. That's the most important thing happening tomorrow. We talked about at the end of the last break that we had a lot of really great sports stories happening in Erie County so far this year, and I think one of the favorites for us to have been following has been the performance of the Fairview girls golf team this year. So we are excited to have in studio with us Cora Hers and Coach Ryan Quiggle from the Fairview golf team. Hey guys, how are you this morning?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, great.
Good.
Thanks for having
Doing
us.
great.
Good.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys for
Making the
having
trip
us.
on a school morning. We know that
Yeah.
you're sacrificing quite a bit to be here, so
Oh, yeah.
we appreciate
That
your
was hard.
sacrifice.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
tough.
how hard did he have to sell it for you to get out of class this morning?
Not hard at all. Very easy decision.
I don't think I finished.
Do you want it?
saying-
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I am a doctor, but I can't write you that type of excuse. So, you're on your own there. So this is a segment we call our flagship feature. We love to bring in people from the area, coaches, players, whoever, to kind of come in and talk about not only your performance, but also you as people. So I always start this interview the same way, and you can kind of go first. Well, Cora, we'll go with you first, and then Coach will go to you. What's your origin story? How'd you get to where you are? Obviously you're still in high school, so you're probably more local than most of the people we have on the feature. But how'd you get into golf? What got you, to get to that level and to be able to be here today?
My dad took me out to Culbertson Hills when I was 6, and he put a club in my hand, and we just whacked a few balls around. And then I asked him, can we go out again next week? And we kept going. And then when I was 9, he put me in Junior PGA League, which is kind of a easier league to get started for a more like competitive area to get into that. And started doing that. And then as years went on, got into some individual tournaments at the Great Lakes Junior Tour.
Yeah.
And from there, we just kept going and finding as many tournaments to go to. And that's, I guess, here we are today.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Though the practice paid off.
yeah.
And Coach, how about you?
So kind of like Cora, I started golfing at a really early age. Started like 6 or 7. Also, weirdly enough, at Culbertson Hills. Then just kind of grew up around golf my entire life. Got into coaching probably 7, 8 years ago. Started with the boys team at Fairview. Ended up taking a little bit of time off when I got hired at the school. And then picking up 4 years ago when we started our program completely at the school.
Yeah.
So
No,
kind of
that's
bringing
cool.
us up to current times on that.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I live across the street from Culbertson. I've gone once. So I missed. There's obviously something in the water there. I need to maybe get back out because I am awful. Let me put it this way. Nobody is interviewing me for my performance in golf.
You can find Nick at the 19th hole most days, actually.
But obviously you guys are here, PIAA state champs. That is a huge, huge accomplishment for you guys. So let me throw out just kind of, a question your way, Coach. Last year you guys go out to the tournament, you finish second. Does that second place finish fuel your desire to come back and take first this year?
Definitely. It was always interesting because at the time we were hoping, we were optimistic, we were all of those things going into it, and coming out with like a silver medal was an unreal feeling.
Yeah.
We were celebrating, we were excited.
Sure.
But the best part was on the way back, because we just got our medals, got pictures, and drove home. So in that 3.5-hour ride, a lot of the talk was, what can we do to make this gold?
I love
So
that.
the girls were so excited. They were so excited. They appreciated every moment, but their drive to push towards next year, they're like, no one's leaving. We're all coming back. What can we do to get there?
Yeah.
It's like
That's
they were
awesome.
already mapping without my guidance, just on their own. They were already mapping ways to get to where they got this year, starting then.
Yeah. No, I love that.
So, Cora, that sort of answers my first question was your mindset going into this year. Obviously, it was very determined. So I want to ask you this. Your round of 76 led the team. What were some key moments or key shots that you felt helped secure that win?
That round was definitely a roller coaster. I remember the front 9, I shot a 43, which was the worst 9 I had shot all year round. So my head going into the back 9 was not in a very good place because at the time, I think we were pretty close with Hickory, maybe 4 or 5 strokes. But coach came over to me and gave me a really, really, really good pep talk. And then we pulled it together on the back and I was able to shoot a
Is the
33.
pep talk FCC compliant? Is there something that you can pull out that maybe you remember that inspired you specifically that doesn't get us in trouble with the government?
I can say that he told me to this is a new 9. You have new opportunities out here. What happened on the front is in the past and go out and just play like you. And that was a big confidence booster. And then all the nerves were kind of out at that point. And that was when my mindset kind of switched and I was like, all right, let's lock in here and pull it together on the back. And that's what we did. So
hole 10, completely new game. Was there a drive, chip, or putt that you've kind of felt like, okay, I found it? Because golf is kind of a weird game.
Yeah.
Some days, obviously, you play better than others.
Mm-hmm.
What was it that kind of switched that? Oh, hey, I found it. I can do this.
Well, we started on the back 9, so we were actually on hole 1
Okay.
at the Penn State Blue course. So 1, I remember I parred, which was like, okay, that was good because pars for me right now were like pretty steady.
Sure.
And then the next hole was a shorter hole that I knew I could score on. So I hit my 3-wood pretty close up to the green, and I had a chip really close to the hole and made that. So that was the first birdie of the day. So that kind of kicked off. And then next hole, I had another good birdie opportunity, but came out with a par. And then I birdied the next par 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then I birdied the par 4 after that. I had a really good sand shot. So kind of just a rolling momentum to get me to kickstart and then go from there.
I love that. So you said that was your worst night. What was the score on your, quote, worst 9 ever?
43.
Isaac, what's your worst 9? Because mine's at like a 68. That's my best. That's my best
put it
9.
this way, I stopped keeping track of score after like 71. It's interesting because Cora, coach, you both talked about so much the mental part of the game, right? And you knew coming in, okay, Hickory's going for a 4th title. I guess you could make the argument rivalry, right, in the last 4 years with them. Definitely. How have you been able to develop the mental part of your game throughout the years of playing golf? Whether that's just the experience that you have or whatnot, because your game, of course, is there, but mentally things can just take a turn. How have you been able to stay so mentally steady that it helped you on that back 9 to win the title?
Honestly, repetition and just being in that state of pressure always. I mean, I've been playing tournament golf since I was 9, so being able to be in those situations of you've got to kind of show up right now and right now at this time when the pressure was on. So being able to be in those situations a lot made it a lot easier. So I guess just having that experience was really big and really big help in those big pressure situations.
No, that's good. Going into, I guess we kind of already talked about this, but Coach, what's been your big message this year? Obviously you didn't have to do much motivation, but they still needed you. What was kind of your big message sharing to the team kind of going into the championship, knowing Hickory's strong history?
Yeah, well, kind of like along with what Cora was saying, like, so each of the girls on their first 9, which was the back 9, all kind of, you could just tell they're coming out a little nervous.
Yeah.
But the message that we kind of kept all year long was there's 5 girls here, and no matter what happens, we all have each other's backs. So if one person is struggling, there's 4 other girls there that are there to help you. I'm here to listen. They're here to do. They can go through, and no matter what happens, everyone here has your back. It's not on one person. And being able to just keep that message going throughout the year, hopefully alleviated a little bit of that pressure from time to time. But
consistency is key.
Everyone's here for you. Everyone's got your back. Everyone knows you're gonna have good and bad days. But no matter what, we're here to support each other. We care about each other, most importantly, and we're gonna get through this together.
Something I find, or I think you find on across the sports spectrum, teams that have great success, state championship success, is that they hold each other accountable and they legitimately, genuinely care about each other. So I feel that sitting in the studio with you guys. Your message kind of matches. Coach, I can see how you are. You just, like I said, consistency and hey, we're here. We're not stopping. We're going to keep moving. You have very talented players. I mean, guys, we're sitting next to a state championship golf team, man. I mean,
it's so interesting cool too, because you have for the last few years, you've had District 10 teams, right, that have been at the top of the leaderboard. And I think we think about golf and, all right, Erie County, it's cold weather, right? It's dark at like 4:50 now. It's hard to get out there and play. Coach, and maybe Corey, you can answer this too, but Coach, will ask you first. How have you seen in your time around Erie the game of golf grow to the point now where we're seeing consistently D10 teams clear the podium in the top 3 in a lot of cases?
Well, it's been really refreshing because I played high school golf 20 years ago, and golf was a little bit bigger then. But the re-exploration and growth of it locally is massive, and to see like the talent pool that comes out of D10 is so large. Like it's noticeable at the state level when you go to the tournament. Like if you know you can get through the D10 area in golf, when you get to the state level, like you've already kind of mastered the top level. So going there is just kind of recreating it in a different environment. Like the pressure that comes from districts is about the same pressure that kind of comes from states, because that level of competition is that high in this region. And I think Cora could probably attest to that.
Yeah, I think that gives us such an advantage because all the girls that we play with, all the top 4 girls that qualified from districts, were all in the top 10 at states. Like all 4 of us got medals, and it's really awesome to be able to play with them all year round. And that really does give us a big advantage, especially when we get to states when we're with other girls that aren't as experienced in that level of competitiveness. We have a really big advantage, but at the same time, it's also like I get to play with a lot of the girls that I would normally play with in like a mega match, and that also helps me during my round to help me be a little more comfortable with playing because I know these girls and we can kind of lean on each other, especially when we're in stressful situations. So that really gives us an advantage.
Yeah, no, I love that. So we got about 30 seconds left. What's your plan for next year?
Do it again.
Do it again, right? Absolutely. Good answer. Good answer. No, we're excited for you guys. You know, I think Isaac hit the nail on the head too. You don't think of Erie County D10 as a golf mecca, right? But there's a lot of great teams, and you guys get to say you're the best this year. So congratulations to you guys, and thank you for coming in today.
Thank you guys so much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, we got to take a break, but when we get back, we got some Rust Belt NFL headlines we're getting into. We have, a team that maybe won the division and a team that may just, throw in the towel at this point. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill.
can make a difference.
Welcome back. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill. I love those kind of interviews.
They were fantastic.
I felt like I was part of the team. We got to take a fun potho at the end. I just felt like I was the one winning the state championship.
Guys, a 43 is your worst tonight.
Yeah, are you kidding me?
What?
Yeah, so I was like humble brag, 43. Yeah.
I horrible 43. That would have been an 86 if she'd have been the same on the back. Come on, man.
I don't know that I've shot a 43 in mini golf.
No.
Oh, no, that was cool. That was fun to have them in. Thank you to, Cora Hers and Coach Ryan Quiggle for coming in today. That was a fun interview. If you missed it, make sure you go back and check the podcast. All right. Well, we did have we're going to go back to football because we did have some NFL action happening this weekend. Steelers were on a bye, but we still got some Bills and Browns storylines to hit in the Rust Belt Rundown. All right, let's, do you guys want to start with the good news or the bad news?
Wherever you want to start.
Let's go with good news because I'm riding high. That was a great, loved having Cora and Coach in today. So let's stick with the good news. Bills versus Dolphins. Well,
I was going to say.
Sorry, good news for some of us, I guess.
When is the good news coming then?
I guess good news for some of us, unless you are our resident Miami Dolphins fan.
Yeah, it's okay.
Buffalo defeats the Miami Dolphins 30-27 on Sunday in Orchard Park. Game-winning field goal alert. Tyler Bass hits a career-long franchise record 61-yard field goal with 5 seconds remaining to secure the victory for Buffalo.
Got the game ball from the coach in the locker room.
Well, listen, I think he not only got the game ball, he got the win, but I think he also saved his job. Isaac, you were up in Buffalo yesterday, right?
I was supposed to be until I lost my voice yesterday, but I watched the game intently.
There you go. So you cover the Bills a lot for ENN. What did you see coming out of this game for the Bills? What's your biggest storyline coming out of this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, nothing much different than what we're used to seeing. Josh Allen played really well, made a couple of more errant throws. I think you're starting to see him risk it a tad bit more, and that would be a little concerning for me, but it wasn't anything crazy. The run game really didn't get going. I think that's something that's concerning, and I think the more we see Ray Davis have success, as good as James Cook has been, the more and more you wonder, is this going to become a 2 running back system as opposed to a 1 party plus Davis is sprinkled in there? So I think that's something to look out for as well. I'll tell you what, guys, the guy who impressed me the most outside of Tyler Bass, Khalil Shakur, should start being recognized as more of a top receiver in the game. He made a couple of huge catches yesterday, really good in the slot, a sure-handed receiver. He almost reminds me of like a Wes Welker with New England, a guy who flies under the radar but is always open, it seems, when it matters most. You can put him in motion, you can make plays with him, and that was the case again in the game. And then for Tyler Bass, what a feel-good story for that guy, who missed an extra point earlier in the game and had struggled all season long. They had brought some kickers to try out on the practice squad, ended up still continuing to go with Bass, and he rewards them nicely and graciously yesterday. It's a big win for the Bills, and even though it's only a 3-point game, it essentially puts the division under wraps. And I think if you're the Bills, you can start putting bids on playoff tickets for games because they're not giving up this division lead.
I agree.
And you're going to be at worst the 4th seed in the AFC. So for Buffalo, great win for them, and they're sitting in a playoff spot right now.
Yeah, how many teams can lock up their division in Week 9?
No one except Buffalo.
Paul, what's your takeaway from this game?
Well,
other than hurt and
I was
going to
say
suffering.
it was another painful one to watch from my vantage point. From the Buffalo, I'll try to put my Buffalo Bills hat on, although it won't touch my skull too much. Josh Allen looks a lot calmer with Joe Brady as offensive coordinator. He had a few misses yesterday that Isaac talked about. I don't know about the chances. Had a few easy misses that I think would have made the game less close, can we say?
Yeah.
I thought Mac Hollins was really, really good yesterday. Somehow Miami couldn't cover him. Josh Allen does what he does. Miami rushed 4. He was able to elude pressure for a long time, get outside of the pocket, and make plays on the run that really should have been, that play should have been dead 3 seconds ago.
Yep.
And he just is able to get out of it. You talked about Ray Davis already. Every time he touched the football, he made something happen. So I agree with
great.
Isaac. He outplayed James Cook yesterday, and James Cook has had a nice season. He absolutely outplayed him. Cook had a real bad drop on I want to say 3rd and medium that ended a punt. Dalton Kincaid has been really good this year. Khalil Shakir has been very good, and this is a team that was missing Amari Cooper, who they just gave up resources for. So they could have been even better. I don't really know what it says about the Bills as a whole, because the Dolphins are trash. They're a team that can't seem to put it together in all 3 phases of the game at least one time ever. So I don't know if the Dolphins played up to the Bills yesterday or the Bills played down to the Dolphins, and that's kind of where I'm in between. I don't know if it was a good day for Buffalo or a bad day.
Yeah. There were some things that made me feel a little shaky about the Bills too. I mean, it's hard to say you're shaky. They're 7-0. But 2 interceptions in 2 games for Allen. He put the game on his back. 3 touchdowns to, just a collection of players. Mac Hollins, Ray Davis, Quentin Morris, like we were talking about, overcame the inconsistent first half. And, I think there was that series, I think it was at the end of the second quarter, where they're on like the 3-yard line or something like that. And then, they punch it in. Holding penalty, back it up again.
Yep.
Punch it in again, back it up for another holding penalty. They got in their own way yesterday. And I think the other thing the Bills need to figure out, not that they need anything else to win the division, but if they want to make a deep playoff run, is they need some of that pass rush back. Rousseau had a sack yesterday, but that defense is just not getting pressure like we saw them, early on this season. So some things to keep an eye on there. Let's switch over to the bad news. The Cleveland Browns lost 27-10 to the LA Chargers on Sunday. This brings their record to 2-7 after the Week 9 loss. Coming down from the high of Jameis Winston last week, I think we can chalk that up to just a bad Ravens defense, pass defense, I should say. They bounced back this week. Sheesh. But if I'm the Browns at this point, I think you got to throw in the towel. That AFC North is stock full of talent. The Ravens showed why, they're one of the best teams in the league, not just the AFC or the North. The Bengals, Burrow threw 5 more touchdowns yesterday. The Steelers somehow keep winning. I think at this point, you just need to tuck your tail and go home. Now, what does that look like? Does that look like a full tank job? Is it a selling, should they start selling the team? Paul, what do you think? Where do the Cleveland Browns go from here?
I think the Browns are definitely in sell mode. We talked about it a little bit off air before the game, kind of just see where both our heads at. I think we agree that the Browns are done. Like the playoff chances for this season are done.
Stick a fork in them.
Stick a fork in them. So kind of where you're at is, how much do you want to tank? How much do you want to sell off? I think we came to the agreement that Zadarius Smith, yep, probably a goner. I think Jedrick Wills, probably a goner. Although I don't know how much you get for him at this point. David Njoku, maybe a really nice piece that you could actually get something back for, but do you actually want to move them? We talked about the guards, Bitonio and Teller. Ideally, you keep one, get rid of the other. Can you get rid of Bitonio when teams are calling they need a guard? Everybody's going to want Teller. He's 4 years younger. So kind of how does that situation play around? And something that we didn't talk about, what do you do with Nick Chubb? Guy probably on, I hate to say it because I love him as a human being, probably on the back half of his career. 15 carries, only 39 yards yesterday. I don't really like how they're using him. I think it's too much too quick. I understand he's really talented, but he missed more than half the season, and now he's your guy. Jameis Winston, got to stick with him. Jameis giveth, Jameis taketh away. He had 3 touchdowns last week. He had 3 interceptions this week. The contract situation with Deshaun, I think you have to stay the course at the quarterback position. But boy, does the draft get interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And it comes back to how many players are you willing to sell, or can you sell before Tuesday night?
Yeah. And we'll maybe save the Shedeur Sanders talk for another day. But Isaac, how say you?
I agree with everything Paul said, and I don't think they're going to do any of it. I really don't. I think this is management stubborn.
You agreed with Paul?
Hey,
I was thinking the same thing.
See you, Elizabeth.
Winston can change lives. The passion of the Winston, baby.
No, I don't think it's anything to do with Jameis Winston. I just think management's so stubborn, and they're in cap hell, but I think they're happy to be in it. Look, I still think this is an ownership group that wants Deshaun Watson to be in there after this season. I think this is going down a road where Kevin Stefanski might be the scapegoat of all of it. Yeah. And when you look at the way the Browns are currently constructed, how much last year did they rely on a hot hand at quarterback? Were they really the good team we thought they were last year, or was it just a Joe Flacco resurgence? I look at the defense, they're nowhere near as good. Myles Garrett is essentially single-handedly carrying the defense. The linebackers are nowhere to be seen. JOK is regressing. Denzel Ward can't stay healthy. The rest of the secondary isn't playing well. And then you look at the running game. Nick Chubb, I understand he's coming back from injury. He hasn't looked great. And then outside of Cedric Tillman and David Njoku, who do you really trust there in the receiving core? The tough way, I think they're done, but I don't see them selling, guys. I think they still believe that they're a team that can win a Super Bowl in the next couple of years.
It's a tough position because I think you're right. I think they need to retool versus, revamp. They have a lot of youth left on that offense. People are talking about Garrett. Garrett's still 28. So it'll be curious to see what they do, but I think we can say as far as this year goes, it's over. Erie, thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Nick Artman. I'm signing off for Paul Adams, Zach, Rich Smith, and Isaac Petcash. That's it. We're done. Have fun.
TalkErie.com is WCTL